Hi YouTubers, having a good video right now. I want to video right now on a very important subject. So, it's no ramble. Probably never a 3 or 5 minute ramble. So, I do apologize. I'm a little sick right now. I have a stuffy nose. I have a cold. Both my mom and I got pretty sick for the holidays. So, unfortunately, we got pretty sick. So, not deathly ill, but you get the point. So, pretty stuffed up nose. So, if I sound a little bit stuffy, that's why. So, I want to talk about right now something important. Different generations ramble. So basically, I want to talk about different generations. I kind of addressed this earlier in my video. I think it was a couple nights ago, where basically I don't understand the new trendy stuff on YouTube, that kind of stuff, and Facebook. I want to talk about this right now. I want to talk about basically um, different types of generations. So I grew up in the early 90s. I was born in 1991. So my birthday's in April, and you get the point. I grew up in a very different generation my brother did, or my mom and my dad did. And obviously things that my mom and my dad might, take as different ways, I take different ways. So because in my generation in the early 90s, people were into Sega Saturn, PlayStation, people were into NES, Super Nintendo, I wanted for my 6th or 7th birthday, a Nintendo 64. I wanted a PlayStation, that kind of stuff. So people my brother's generation wanted, obviously the Xbox 360, that kind of stuff. Very different generation. Nowadays we're, in present day 2016, almost 2017, or better, sorry, I apologize. In 2016, 2017, I'm 25 and a half, almost 26, and my brother is 7 years younger than me. Things that his friends are into are different than my friends are into. Nowadays, I'm into YouTube, computers, that kind of stuff, writing books, that kind of stuff. But as opposed to, run off. It does it sometimes. His generation is into different types of things, like all the hashtags, not hashes and So you get the point. Hashtags like hashtag this, a lot of interesting stuff people have different names for things. It's a different generation, so you get the point. My little sticky note here to remind me is, in his generation, it's going to be very different. How much money you have to make to retire. In my parents' generation, I just got a message on Facebook, sorry. It's kind of like, it's kind of like in my generation, people in my generation would probably have to make, no exaggeration, $1 million to retire, as opposed to my parents' generation, which is more like, 300, 400,000 so to retire. It's really amazing. I don't understand things that are my brother's generation. I understand them. I'm not stupid, not dumb, not. You get the point. Things like, I don't get these crazy trendy ads on YouTube. They go hashtag this, hashtag that, hang up your squad. I don't get these crazy Call of Duty video games. I don't get these, Minecraft, hashtag this. I didn't grow up in that generation. It's very different for me. I grew up in a generation, where people were, not retro gamers, but people were playing retro games. Nowadays PlayStation, NES, that kind of stuff considered retro because they're 20 years old. I grew up in a very different generation. It is a generation gap. Obviously things like smoking, including this big ass cigars, a big ass cigar for life, are very different in that kind of generation. Nowadays, even in the early 90s, smoking cigars was pretty acceptable. As opposed to nowadays, was considered bad. Considered evil. You get the point. I bet most people know where that reference is from. It's kind of like, oh, sorry. I apologize for, somebody messaged me on Facebook, sorry. I do get notifications on my iPod, or my iPad for, I say iPod, not iPad, because I still use a Nano iPod. Same thing there, just perfect example there. I still use the Nano iPod that my mom's sister got me for graduation from 2009 from high school. I grew up in a very different generation. I don't get the new swag, this and that, It's different to me. If you grew up in a different generation, I would say about cigars, in the early 90s, people would, all the time would have a cigar at a wedding, that kind of stuff. Nowadays, if you so much as like smoke a cigar around our people are like, cigar, smoke, like that. So, totally different generation. So, my parents' generation, probably 50% or more of the adult population smoked. So, nowadays, in 2016, 2017, you're lucky if you find anybody who is a cigar pipe smoker, tobacco cigar pipe smoker, that is. Different with the other stuff, Big Ass Cigar for Life. So, I grew up in a very different generation, so give me your thoughts, Big Ass Cigar for Life. I don't get, like, Minecraft. I don't get, all the crazy hashtags, these crazy ads on YouTube that go, Rah! Like that. So, Big Ass Cigar for Life, bye.